Hey everybody, this is Russell Wilks of Muscle Voodoo, Muscle Voodoo Online Sources. I'm just answering questions, and I got a load of questions come to me via social media, via messages on various different channels, etc. Before I forget, and I make this now. So, Tom, a guy called Tomasino, the Italian guy, Tom. He's asked me. He said, I can't lift heavy because I got a slim waist. This is what he's saying to me. He said that he's basically got a slim waist, you can't really lift heavy because you need a thick waist, etc., etc. And he says, I think it's limiting my back squat, and it's also limiting my other squats, and it's also limiting my my deadlift. And he said, how true is this, or is it not true? Okay, Tom, the first thing is it does have a certain amount of truth to it. You're talking about like a really, apparently this guy's got a really slim waist, like a wasp-like waist, like a classic bodybuilding, what bodybuilders aim for when they're fully sort of stripped down, and they've been sort of dieting down, etc. They want that real extreme taper. That obviously, when you see bodybuilders like that, they're in their weakest state because they've been dieting down. You don't see them you don't see them that often when they're like in training in the pre-contest season, when they're like huge and like really very strong. A lot of bodybuilders are very strong. The notion amongst certainly some strength trainers and some powerlifters that bodybuilders are not strong is certainly not true. I know a lot of very strong bodybuilders, but the point is that when you see them like that, with a very narrow waist, like maybe a 28-inch waist and like a 50-inch chest and stuff, that's when they dieted right down. What you don't see them so much is when they've got like maybe a 34-inch waist and a 50 something inch chest, or even thicker. But there is something definitely to it, because obviously force has got to be transferred through the waist. When you're doing a back squat, for example, your weakest pinion point, if you like, with a back squat is your lower back. Generally, your abs and your lower back, your core. Particularly, most people get problems with the back squat, and they get, they twang their lower back, their spina erector muscles and their lumborum, because they've not done the accessory exercises that are necessary to make the squat successful. They've just probably done a lot of progressive resistance where they just do squats, and more squats, and suddenly they hit a brick wall, bang, and suddenly something goes twang. So I would say to you, firstly, Tomasino, that number one, there is a certain amount to it. You should have a certain amount of strength in your obliques, in your serratus, in your abdominals, in your lower back, particularly your spina erector and your lumborum has got to be really, really strong. Particularly for the squat, the accessory exercises that really help the back squat are things like Xerxes squats, ab stack crunch, glute ham raise, reverse hypers, hyperextensions, good mornings. Some box squats can be useful, things like that. They will help to if you're naturally skinny at the waist anyway, but you can have very, very strong obliques and a very strong core. It doesn't necessarily mean to say that if you've got a very slim waist, you won't be able to lift that heavy. You tend to see a lot of sort of strongman competitors, etc., and a lot of powerlifters, they do have a thicker waist, but there's a halfway house between that. I know that you said you're training primarily for strength, but you said you've got a slim waist. So I'm not necessarily saying put on fat, but you can actually do a lot of things that will kind of thicken your trunk a little bit, maybe even just by a couple of inches or so, and if and then that'll help you a lot. So I think, does that answer your question? So can you lift heavy if you've got a slim waist? Yes, you can. Make sure you're lifting without a belt and making sure that you're actually keeping everything tight. The reason I say to lift without a belt is so many people go into the gym and they just put their belt on, and their belt is basically just it's like their Superman suit or something. They can't do without it. Most of your lifts should be done without a belt, unless you're going for something that you've not lifted before and you maybe think you need a little bit of help, etc. That's just my opinion. A lot of people would say, oh, you got to use your belt, you got to push out against your belt, etc. I don't use a belt when I'm lifting, unless I was lifting something that was like seriously heavier than what I'd done before, or if I was having any doubts at all, then I might go, okay, I'll use a belt. But primarily, I always train without a belt. And when you train without a belt, you're actually using your musculature of your midsection, etc., as your belt. So when you don't necessarily breathe in, but you hold your stomach flat and keep the air in, and that creates intra-abdominal pressure, and that is the thing that keeps everything tight and taut. And your obliques and your serratus, your abdominals, your lower back, etc., will all get a lot of work from that. So there's your answer, I think. Can you lift heavy if you've got a slim waist? Yes. Is having a slim waist a disadvantage in some of the heavy lifts? It is to an extent with the squat, kind of. Not with a deadlift so much, because if you've got a big fat belly, you can't really deadlift that well. Anyway, so all you guys out there who've got a big fat belly who are not deadlifting that well, slim down a bit. And finally, yeah, I think that's it. So there's your answer. Thanks for your question, and I'll do another one of these videos soon. My name's Russell Wilks, RUSSELLWILKS, and this channel is Muscle Voodoo online. You can find me at other places online, and look out for products from me soon. Till that, take care.